I want you to think about this. The first 4 Beatitudes we had dealt with us and our relationship to God. The next Beatitudes we have deal with us and our relationship with man. And the first one is, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Matthew chapter 18, verse 21 says, Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how many times shall my brother sin against me, and I'll forgive him? As many as 7 times? Now, many times you've heard this quoted, and it's misquoted so many times. Jesus says to him, no, Peter, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. And what does Christ mean here? We're going to see that here in just a second. What does Christ mean? 70 times 7. So 490 times I'm supposed to forgive. 491, no. Now, that's not what that means at all. In fact, here's what Peter was asking. The reason he's asking, see, the rabbis say you were to forgive 3 times. So if someone comes to you and asks for forgiveness, you just forgive them 3 times. And the 4th time, you didn't have to forgive anymore. No, I've already forgiven you for that. I'm not going to forgive you anymore. And Peter said, well, Christ, you did so many things in 7, so I guess 7 is the right number. And Jesus said, no. He goes on and he starts the next part of that verse, and in that section he says 70 times 7. For this reason the kingdom of heaven can be compared to the king who wanted to settle accounts with his slaves. When he began to settle accounts, one owed 10,000 talents was brought before him. Since he had no way to pay it back, his master commanded that he, his wife, his children, and everything he had be sold to pay the debt. At this, the slave fell face down before him and said, Be patient with me, and I will pay you everything. Then the master of that slave had compassion, released him, and forgave him the loan. But the slave went out and found one of his fellow slaves who owed him 100 denarii. He grabbed him and started choking him and saying, Pay what you owe. At this, his fellow slave fell down and began begging him, Be patient with me and I will pay you back. But he wasn't willing. On the contrary, he went and threw him into prison until he could pay what he owed. When the other slaves saw that what had taken place, they were deeply distressed and went and reported to their master everything that had happened. Then afterwards he had summoned him. His master said to him, You wicked slave, I forgave you all the debt because you begged me. Should you also have mercy on your fellow slave as I had mercy on you? And his master got angry and handed him over to the jailers until he could pay everything that was owed. So my heavenly Father will also do to you if each of you does not forgive his brother from his heart. Wow. Wow. We cannot forgive unless we have been forgiven. Think about this. In the story, the slave owed his master 10,000 talents. Let's say $10,000. Okay? So for clarification. He gets forgiven. This guy goes out and he runs across one of his slaves that owed 100 denarii. We would say 100 quarters. And he chokes him, and he's like, he's got to go to jail because he owes me 100 quarters. He just got forgiven $10,000. So he puts him in jail. When we are forgiven, we should forgive. There's 3 ways that happens. You ready? Number 1, a person has told me many times, I can't. I can't. I can't forgive. The problem with that is this. For me to forgive, I have to be what? Forgiven, right? If I can't forgive, what does that mean? I haven't been forgiven. Here's what this tells me. People who have not put their faith and trust in Jesus Christ and believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for their sins can never forgive anybody because they haven't been forgiven. Hence, we have the cliche, I don't get mad, I get even. Everybody wants to pay everybody back. Everybody wants to get things done. I'll never forget this. It's just one of the things, I've used this illustration before, but in my mind, it was so vivid. I had a customer while I was working with Mike who got so mad. In fact, he was in the shop and everybody heard him. And his last words are, "You going to fix my car, you going to fix it right, or I'm taking you to court." And I'm like, tell me something somebody else hasn't told me. So I mean, he was mad, and he comes to pick up his car. I don't know if Mike remembers this or not. He pulls into our lot, and somebody backs up and hits him in his other car. Oh, man. As soon as that hat hit the shop, everybody was rolling laughing. He come to me, he goes, "I guess you're telling me I deserve that." I said, "No, sir, I didn't say that. I'm just saying, our body shop is behind us, it's down the road. I can give you directions how to get there. Your other car is ready." And he's like, You're not laughing, you're not saying this is what I owed. Inside, my flesh was like, "Ha, that's what you get." But my spirit was saying, "Forgiveness. No, I forgave you when you start screaming at me." It don't happen all the time. I'm not that perfect. But brothers and sisters, the Bible says, the Lord says it this way, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay." If we stay out of it, God will take care of it. Always remember that. When people tell me I can't forgive, that tells me one of two things. So many times that I think they've used the wrong word. We're going to get to that here in just a moment. But if they can't forgive, then that means they've never put their faith and trust in Jesus Christ, because when we have Christ living inside of us, there should be nobody in the world that we can't forgive with Jesus Christ living inside of us. Now let me clarify something. A lot of people think, I can't forget it. That will never happen. But you should be able to forgive. See, I've forgiven a lot of people that I don't want to hang around. You understand what I'm saying? Because I still remember, but I have forgiven them in my heart. If they come back and do something again, the Bible tells me I must forgive. And so many times it's not for the other person. Do you realize that it is a health concern? That most our health problems in America today is because of unforgiveness. We're not willing to forgive. Hence we have heart attacks. Hence we have stress. Hence we have worries. Hence we have depressions. We have all a bunch of diseases tied up to unforgiveness. I've tried to practice this, and Jenny will tell you I'm pretty decent with this. That when someone does something to me, I try to forgive them immediately. Sometimes I'm not as good as I should be. But try to forgive them immediately, because that way I don't have to worry about forgiving them. Because I want you to see this. There's a reason behind this. Look with me in Mark chapter 11. Mark chapter 11, verse 25 through 26. Mark 11, 25 through 26. "And whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, so that your Father in heaven will also forgive you your wrongdoings. But if you don't forgive, neither will your Father in heaven forgive your wrongdoings." What? If I don't forgive, God won't forgive me? See, here's a thought amongst Christianity and a lot of Baptist churches. When Christ died on the cross, he didn't die for all my sins. He died for my penalty of my sin, which is death. So I'm going to heaven because I put my penalty of death upon Jesus Christ. He died so I can live forever. However, unforgiven sin is going to be held against me when I get to heaven. And the only reason I have unforgiven sin is why? Because I haven't forgave anybody. Ooh. So when you say I can't, then that means that when you get to heaven, you're going to have a whole lot of sins you're going to have to give an account for. Christ paid the sin debt. Romans, just a few chapters actually from where Brother Jack read. Romans said, we build upon the foundation, wood, hay, and stubble, precious stones, jewels, whatever. And the wood, hay, and stubble, it says the fire will come and quench it, but will be saved. So as by fire, the foundation will be saved. That's Jesus Christ. If I forgive people, all my foundation is going to be jewels, diamonds, rubies. And the fire they can withstand the fire. But if I don't forgive anybody, built upon that's going to be all my accolades. We talked about last week, all my performances. This is what I'm doing. This is how I am. And they will burn when Christ says, why didn't you ask for forgiveness? We have to forgive so we can be forgiven. The more you forgive, the more you'll be forgiven. So when someone tells me I can't, then that tells me one of two things. One, that tells me they never put their faith in Jesus Christ. Number two, they've used the wrong word. Because some people say I can't when they mean I won't. And that's part two. I won't forgive. You don't know what they did to me. I won't forgive. And that comes into, look with me in Matthew chapter 18, verse 33. Matthew 18:33, back in our text. He says this, shouldn't you also have mercy on your fellow slave as I had mercy on you? We should have mercy on people because Christ has had mercy on us. God has had mercy on us. What is mercy? There's a lot of terminology, but I like to put it like this in words I understand. Mercy is compassion in action. Mercy is compassion in action. In other words, it's going to cost me my time. It may cost me some money. But number three, it's going to cost me some pride, won't it? It's going to cost me my pride. I'm going to have to go to the person and say, hey, I forgive you. When they ask for forgiveness, I forgive them. Don't go to the person and say, I forgive you if they haven't not asked for forgiveness. Because then you're going to have to forgive them for something else, won't you? Because then they're going to say something else makes you mad. When they ask for forgiveness, forgive them. But the key is to forgive them before they ask. That's the best way, best policy. Look with me in 2 Corinthians chapter 2. And this is where Paul writes. 2 Corinthians chapter 2. Second Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. In fact, I made up my mind about this, not to come to you with another painful visit, for if I caused you pain, then who will cheer me the other than the one who hurt? I wrote this very thing so that when I come, I wouldn't have a pain from those who ought to give me joy, because I am confident about all of you that my joy is yours. For out of extremely trouble and anguished heart, I wrote to you with many tears, not that you should be hurt, but that you should know that the abundant love I have for you. If anyone has caused pain, he has not caused pain to me, but in some degree, not to exaggerate, to all of you. In other words, someone's caused pain to all of us. The punishment by the majority is sufficient for such a person. So now you should forgive and comfort him instead. Otherwise, this one may be overwhelmed by excessive grief. Therefore, I urge you to confirm your love to him. It was for this purpose I wrote, so I may know your proven character, if you are obedient in everything. Now to you whom you forgive anything, I do too. For what I have forgiven, if I've forgiven anything, is for you in the presence of Christ, that we may not be taken, look at this, taken advantage of by Satan, for we are not ignorant of his intentions. Look what Paul's telling the church. I'm putting it kind of together here in Church of Corinth. He said, my second letter, I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna let you know how much I love you. First letter showed you I loved you, but I was like a disciplinary type of letter. The second letter to the Church of Corinth, he's like, look, I'm coming. I'm nice. I want you to know that I meant that, but I was telling you that in love. Then he goes, if anybody offends you, if anybody's caused problems, he said, you need to forgive them. Why? First off, to help with their grief. Second, to keep Satan from attacking you. How would Satan attack us with unforgiveness? Easy. You take someone that won't forgive, Satan comes to him and goes, ha, those people didn't like you anyway. I think that's why a lot of people aren't in churches today. Because in their mind, Satan has came to them. Something's happened in the church. They won't forgive that person. And Satan has came to them and said, ha, they don't like you anyway. See, they just don't like you. And he give them excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. Unforgiveness is Satan's playground. He loves when Christians don't forgive, because now he can start coming in, putting doubts and stuff in your mind. So when we talk about unforgiveness, we're talking about an attitude that says, well, nobody likes me, nobody cares for me, nobody this, and all of a sudden it starts coming one right after another, after another, after another. There's many people I've met, even the ones that are left here, and screamed at me and said, I'll never be back. The problem is they're not in church today because of unforgiveness or because of something else. Brothers and sisters, the first step you have to take is forgiveness. When you take forgiveness, then it helps your life a whole lot more. But if you hide unforgiveness in your heart, Satan will come in and attack. See, there's the I can't, but then there's the I won't. And doing the I want means Satan, look what Paul says. Paul says, so that we may not be taken advantage of by Satan, for we are not ignorant of his intentions. We have the I can't, we have the I want, lastly we have the I wills. When we forgive, three things leave us. You ready? Three things leave us. When I forgive, three things leave us. Anger, bitterness, and revenge. When I don't forgive, I've got anger, bitterness, and revenge playing in my heart. Guess what Satan uses? Yep, anger, bitterness, and revenge. I want to get back. David said like this. David said, Lord, upon my enemies heap coals of fire. Then later he said, Lord, forgive me for wanting coals of fire heaped upon my enemies. See, whatever we're not willing to forgive, inside our hearts are those three areas. But when I forgive, then all my anger is gone, all my bitterness is gone, all my revenge is gone. I come home from work. One of the things I like about our traffic, this is one of the things I love about the traffic, is I get time to cool down before I get home. Because I can leave somebody that is upset, come home, I've got time to chill out, and when I get home, I walk in. Instead of walking in, just leaving someone that's upset, walking in, and Jenny's saying something, what do you want? Well, all of a sudden she's got a little bit of the anger that I had built up, or bitterness, or revenge. And so when someone's screaming at me, I have time to forgive them in my heart. and then get home and I'll be ready to greet Jenny without having anger, bitterness, or revenge in my heart. Let me challenge you. If I show mercy, I will be shown mercy. Can I make it physical here for you? Because if I show Jenny mercy, couples, my wife, your husband, your friends, then that means mercy is going to be shown to me from other individuals, not only from God. See what I'm saying? Matthew 7:7, judge not that you be not judged, not by God, by others. So the more mercy I show, the more mercy I'll be shown. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. God's gracious, God's merciful already. But the more I forgive, the more, not only will God forgive me, the more others will forgive me. The more I forgive. Sum it up in a story. It's about an African tribe. African tribe had a custom. And here's what happened. When someone was to commit murder, then they would catch the one who committed murder, and they would tie them up, and they would have a party one night, and they would go to the banks of the ocean, and they would put this person tied up. He was tied with the hands bent over, tied at the knees so he couldn't stand up, and he was pushed out in a boat that had holes in it, and there to drown. The tribe would sit there and watch. The family, only the family who he had murdered their family member, could, one, let him drown, or two, jump in and save him. And their theory was this: if they let him drown, they would live with revenge and sadness the rest of their life. If they would jump in and save him, they would rejoice over life and over him not losing the life because of something he did. So they would push him out and watch. Brothers and sisters, let me tell you, forgiveness is a whole lot like that. You can let that person drown, and you live with unforgiveness the rest of your life, you're going to be miserable. Or you can jump in and say, I'll do whatever I can to help you. And you'll be living with rejoicement the rest of your life. Rejoicing. So it's your choice. You can go the rest of your life unhappy with unforgiveness, or you can set the person free in your heart and go rejoicing the rest of your life. Satan loves marriages because what he loves to do is he loves to keep bringing up things from the past in the marriage. One of the things Jenny and I promised years and years and years ago was if I did anything to hurt her, or if she did anything to hurt me, we would address it and never bring it back up again. And to this day, this year we'll be celebrating 36 years of marriage. And to this day, I can't tell you one time she's brought up to me, nor can she tell you, I hope she can't tell you one time I brought back up to her. I can't remember if I did. If I did, I'm sorry. She has to forgive me. But anyway, but Satan's not like that. Satan will keep bringing stuff up for us to mouth out before we think about it. We're just like that African tribe. Either one, we can let it drown and live with resentment the rest of our life, or we can jump in and save them and live with rejoicing the rest of our life. It's up to you. Are you merciful? You'll be shown mercy. Are you unmerciful? You won't be shown mercy. The first beatitude that deals with us and our relationship with our brothers and our sisters is we need to forgive to be forgiven. If we forgive, we will be forgiven. Now it's your turn. What choice are you going to make? Are you going to be merciful? Or are you going to be unmerciful? Let's stand for prayer.